I want to talk to y'all about something that I really haven't talked about. Something that, I don't know, probably doesn't get talked about enough, honestly. So I'm going to discuss it a little bit. Bear with me here, but while it's on my mind, I want to talk to you about drug addiction. Let's get to the whole cold, hard truth. Drug addiction sucks. It sucks ass. It's horrible. Some people call it a disease, right? And I'm not sure if I fall in line with that. I really don't know what I would classify it as, but I will say that it is definitely detrimental to your overall well-being. Some people just tend to have addictive personalities. They could pick up pretty much anything and just become quote unquote addicted to it. Whether it's coffee, they just gotta have it constantly now that they've had a taste of it. Something so simple as that, or it can be other minuscule things. But let me tell you what's really sucks though is drug addiction, alcoholism. These things. Drugs, man. For you that don't know what drug addiction is like. Okay, it's a little bit different for everybody. It depends on the drugs that you was on and stuff like that, and your personality and your physical situation, right, with it, and how it's affecting you. So, but I want to tell you a little bit about me and my experience, right? I've thought a lot about this actually. Drug addiction was a very funny thing to me. For a long time, I didn't even know I was addicted to drugs, even though I was doing them every day, because I was. For the longest time, I didn't really look at it like a problem, in all honesty. I was still doing the things I want in my eyes. Let me say this now. And in most people around me, I might have been wild a little bit in the way I acted and stuff for sure, but I wasn't sitting here lying to everybody and bullshitting everybody. I tell people straight up, like, yo, this is what I'm doing today, Nobody, it's not that people didn't care about me, but they seemed, I don't know, acceptant and tolerant of it maybe, because it just was who I was maybe. I'm not sure, but I know people definitely loved me. But they were okay with it, I guess. I don't know, It wasn't like I was out robbing people, necessarily to get high or anything like that. I always hustled and made money, I worked and, stuff like that. Still paid the light bill, blah, blah, blah. But I was not nearly a fraction of successful. In fact, I wasn't, let's be real, I wasn't successful while I was on drugs for many years, many years, the better part of a decade, all right? And yeah, I've had successes, but where I would be, let's just say in the last couple years or so, the last 2-3 years since I've gotten clean, the amount of prosperity I have been blessed with and the amount of success I've had, is such an awesome thing. But if I would have took my ass back 10 years ago and just started then, look, where would I be now, So it's been huge problem for me in my life, right? And I didn't realize it for the longest time. That's the crazy thing about drug addiction. Is a lot of times it slips in up on you, right? And then it just comes out of nowhere and you can't get rid of it. Imagine waking up right in the middle of the night and you've had a dream where you was getting high, right? And you don't even know why, you was just dreaming it. Then next thing you know, you're ready to get high again, right? And then, you wake up in the morning, right? If you went to sleep that night, and let's be honest, methamphetamine was my favorite drug. So, boy, let me tell you, there'd be many nights where I did not go to sleep. Like a normal week for me, let's say, I don't even know, I'm just going to throw a random day and say a Wednesday. I might stay up all night and go to sleep the next night, or I might stay up for the next 3 days. I don't know. Just see. I really ain't got a clue. Just however it just played out, I guess. And then, the crazy thing was, though, is I would wake up, whenever it would be, whatever time it would be, right? And whenever it was, I'd wake up, and then before I realize it, I'm either already crushing up another line to get the day started, right? So that's the very first thing on my mind when I wake up, aside from food, because I'm fat, and of course, the usual, because I was one of the people that still brushed all my teeth. Still got all my teeth and still brushed my teeth and took showers and did all that stuff, where I guess some other people tend to fall off of that for whatever reason. I don't understand, but the first thing on my mind every day was getting high if I wasn't already high, And it was so crazy because, imagine a world where you wake up, right, and you don't even know it. You don't even realize you're doing it, but you're picking up your damn phone so that way you could text or call the dope man, and then you realize mid-conversation with this person what you're doing. It's like, it's so in tune with who you are at that point, that you don't even know you're doing it. You're just doing it automatically, like a freaking robot. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was one of the hardest things, I tell you, actually, when I decided to truly get clean, when I realized this was truly a problem. I had my son coming, and it was a long struggle for me, a long, hard road. I mean, a lot of bad stuff went down for me to be able to get myself clean and to stay clean. But one of the craziest things to me is for months and months and months, I'd pick up my phone, man, and I'd go to looking somebody's name up to text them or call them or hit them up on, social media or whatever. And then realizing that, hey, like, as I'm doing it, I deleted that person out my phone, or hey, I blocked this person, so that way I wouldn't do these things. But I wouldn't even realize I was doing it until I was already in the act of doing it, and I had to catch myself, so that's something I had to break and it took a long, hard time for me to do that. The dreams I would have, like, man, I would have the craziest dreams, right, about drugs and stuff for the longest. I'm not even going to say, pretend, like, not really very often, honestly, anymore, but every once in a blue moon, I still have a dream, and I wake up and I'm like, what was I thinking? It's so crazy. I went through my mental state, the way that I thinked and operated. Oh my God, it changed drastically. I used to have crazy thoughts, and I've already got a short temper, but boy, I would be temperamental as hell. I remember there were times to where I guess, my like dopamine levels and all these other things are just so far out of whack, right? Because of the extremities I took things for such a long time, that for a long, long time, even after I got off drugs, technically my mind was still healing, and I'm sure it is still healing, and it probably will never be the same because of the things that I've done to myself, vast amount of drugs for a long, long time, for years at a time. That plays a huge role. And the way that I would think about things was just so crazy. The way that I would react to things. Sometimes I would be watching, and it sounds so crazy, but I tell people this, like, I would literally be watching like a comedy or a cartoon or something, and then I would start to cry, and I wouldn't even know why. Like, I would be confused. I'd be like, what the hell's wrong? Like, I feel okay, I think, but like, I'm not sad, but yet here I am with tears in my eyes, and I don't know why. Or sometimes I would be angry, and I don't know why. I know I'm angry, or like, and I'm always tired. Boy, let me tell you too, that, man, the way that I would rationalize things in my head changed. It was just so different. And as time went on, I started to notice, and this was actually, it sounds so dumb, but it was a huge surprise to me. The way that my mind worked, the way that I thought about things, the way that I rationalized things, the way that I questioned things, just the way that I thought about life in general, and I approached life and perceived life, it slowly changed very, very much so over the weeks and months after I got clean, right, physically, because the crazy part about drugs is they don't stay in your system very long, right? But the effects that they have on your body and your mind and your spirit last for a long time, some longer than others. Some effects, I would argue, will last you till the day you die, and it's a troubling thing, and it's really a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing to understand individually, as an individual going through it. Like I said, I really truly didn't understand until I was much further along in the process. I think I actually was talking to my therapist, and after I was a year clean, she said I was full remission, I think is what she said, the clinical terminology for it, I believe. But I'll tell you, even at that point, there were still things that I would realize were changing about me, mentally, right, and even physically, but mentally mainly at that point, psychologically, these shifts that were occurring because of me being clean for a prolonged period of time, and my mind and spirit healing itself, because the drugs had been out of my body for a long time at that point, long time at that point. And also to the people around me, I realized, one of the hardest things about drug addiction too is that if you have never, and this is just the cold hard truth, if you've never experienced it, you don't understand. It's like if I was trying to pretend that I understand what it's like to be a mother having a child and birthing a child. I could never understand and never comprehend how a mother, like for example, my wife, I could never comprehend and never understand the way that she feels, right, through that process, because I'm not in her shoes. I'm not doing this actively myself. We could stand by these people, or we could choose to try to support them and stuff like that. But if you don't go through it yourself, you really truly can't understand some things in life. And drug addiction very much so is one of them things. If you don't go through it yourself, and I pray that most people do not, like my wife, for example, she's never been through drugs, she's never done drugs, anything like that. And I'm very, very thankful that she does not understand. But at the same time, when there's people that don't understand, they're not always going to be as understanding in certain situations about things, the way that you're going to react, or other people around you. They're not going to sometimes be able to comprehend and be able to react and to work with you in the way that you need to work with. And also too, there's the hard thing for a lot of people to understand when you're going through drug addiction, right, that they don't understand is that they can't get you clean. You know what I'm saying? Here's the cold hard truth about this. Anybody, and I mean anybody, well, let me rephrase this. From my personal experience, at least, right? And the people that, and I've for better or worse, have got to know hundreds throughout my lifetime, hundreds of drug addicts. I bought and sold a lot of drugs in my past, right? Lots. And I've done lots and lots of drugs. I've been around a lot of drugs of a lot of different, pretty much every type you can possibly think of, in every situation almost you can think of. And one thing I've come to realize is that if anybody wants out this life and wants to start a new life with in sobriety, or and just a good solid life, and get clean, and try to beat drug addiction, nobody can do it for them. That's the cold truth. Like if your sister, your boyfriend, your husband, your cousin, your best friend, whoever, it doesn't matter, if they're going through drug addiction, the truth is that you cannot fix them, and you never will. Right? They have to come to the conclusion in their mind that they're ready for this, and they're willing to go through the shit that they got to go through, so that way they can get through the other side. Now, when they're truly ready for that, then they might reach out for help, right? And absolutely, if you want to help them, please do so. I know I needed help. Let me tell you what I did. I actually thought about this a lot in the past. I knew I had a son coming, so I had to get my shit together, right? But that wasn't easily said done, right? It was a long road, and a lot of it, in all honesty to you, it was a big blur. I lost myself mentally so far out going through the process, and failing as I was going to. Let's be honest for a second at first, like I wasn't there the entire pregnancy. Me and Abby was separated because of my drug addiction, right? And the things that I was involved with. I didn't meet my son until a month after he was born because of the things that I did. So I have to live with these things, right? And that's okay. But by the time my son came into this world, I was clean. And the things that I had to go through to get to that, I literally I got in fights with people, arguments with people. And I literally, in fact, one situation, I got into a fist fight with somebody I loved, I had to separate myself from a lot of people and things. And then I had to, I chose to go live at my mama's house, believe it or not, at 30 years old, completely broke, trying to start a business right after the pandemic, trying to start a business with pretty much zero money. I successfully did it, but also I was, of course, addicted to drugs, so I had to beat drug addiction in the process. So I did that, and I'm not bragging, I'm just being honest. The truth is, I had to go over there and I had to go throw up in the bathroom when nobody was looking, because that's what I had to do. I had to struggle with the sweats every night, and I had to struggle with all the problems that I had, because I put myself in that place, and it was time for me to man up and do what I need to do, because I made it my decision in my mind that it's time. So this is what we're going to do. And it was not easy, and I was failing at points, a lot of points I was failing. But overall, I was lucky enough to succeed, and here I am today because of that. But it's because what I chose to do. But then thankfully, along the lines, there was at least somebody that was willing to support me. Not just one person, but there was many, and they know who they are, and they know I love them greatly for it, for sure. But again, I had, I didn't even have a vehicle at this point. I had to go stay at my mama's house. You know how embarrassing that is, as a 30-year-old, to have to go over there addicted to drugs to sleep on his mom's couch for a while, so that way he can get his shit together, right? I'm walking to work, or I'm having, my mama drive me back and forth, so that way I can get there. I'm having friends and stuff come pick me up, or I'm paying people, stuff like that, like that's embarrassing, but that's what I had to do. That's what I need to do as a man to get my shit together. So that's what I did, and people, and it's hard for people to understand that, and that's okay. It's okay for them not to understand, but that's what drug addiction can look like. You will find yourself, these people that are addicted to drugs, and some people are worse off than others. Some things I personally don't see no excuse for. Like I might have been heavily addicted to drugs for years and years and years, but I never stole from my mom. I never robbed, people and stuff like that. At least, let me rephrase that. I never robbed anybody to get high or anything like that. There were times in my past where I felt it justified because somebody owed me money or something, which is still not okay. But, we did things, things I'm not proud of. So, but that in a nutshell, that's kind of what drug addiction looks like, the psychological, the vomiting and the sweats and the dreams and the ups and downs, like roller coaster of emotions that you go through, the stigma from the people around you. But, that's kind of what it is, it is what it is. But I don't know. I figured I would just talk about this a little bit and some of my experience with this. If anybody wants me to go in depth on anything, or if somebody's going through something, man, and they're going through some kind of drug addiction or whatever, and they're actively trying and truly trying to get themselves clean. Of course, you can't be detrimental to your own life and your own family and your own well-being, to be able to try to help them succeed, especially if they're just going to fail, over and over. But however, you have to be cautious with things. But always try to be supportive as best you can of people, and try to be understanding and lenient. A little bit of lenience goes a long ways, because you don't understand what they're going through. Honestly, you don't. Just love them through it if you can. And for the people that are actively going through drug addiction right now, I pray for you. They, it's not easy. Nobody can lie and say it is. But the fact of the matter is, if you push hard enough, you can get through it and you can get past it. That's the truth. Just man up and do what you got to do, no matter what it takes. I don't give a damn if that means you got to go sleep in a sleeping bag somewhere and get away from everybody and shit in the woods. And then if that's what you got to do, then that's what you need to do. Because I promise you, there is a much brighter side to things when you get to the other side. You got a hell of a storm to go through, but it is beautiful and sunny on the other end. I assure you. Anyways, God bless, guys, and stay awesome.